Hello and welcome to this month's Global Stampin' Video Hop. I'm so excited to be with you this time. This is a new fun thing for me to do and I'm really excited to join this fantastic group. So this month is July and we're focusing on handmade layered cards. That's our theme for the month. So I was thinking, well, what does that mean to me? And the very first thing that comes to my mind is something that's one of my absolute favorite things, and that is diorama cards. Right now, I love diorama cards. I think that they're super fun, and they're actually not as difficult as everyone thinks they might be. Now, I am doing a very simple one here today, but I'm going to step you through how we make this, and I think you're going to really like it. So this particular diorama card just has two layers. Okay, we have the front layer here that's raised, as you can see, and there's also a layer at the back. Can you see that there? So just two layers. You can have, I've certainly done dioramas with 3 layers. You can even add more layers if you want to, but we're just going to go really simple today and go with 2. So I'm just going to bring my trimmer in. I've measured this paper. Now, when it comes to doing 3D items like dioramas, I prefer to work in inches. So I will be working mostly in inches today, but I can tell you, I mean, I use metric here in Australia, and this is actually the width of half a sheet of A4. So if you took a full sheet of A4, cut it in half, then you will find this measurement here is 14.85 centimeters, which is that length. But it would work equally well if you wanted to. You could make it a straight 6 inches if you prefer to work in inches. Now this is the bit where I start working in inches going the other way, because the width of this is 5.5 inches. Okay, so I'll put those measurements up on the screen for you. We're going to start with the top layer, or it doesn't really matter which one is which. We're going to put it here, and we're going to move it up to the 1/2 inch mark. I'm using my trimmer as a scoring tool. The big magic of when you're using your trimmer as a scoring tool, make sure you move your cutting blade out of the way, because you really don't want to accidentally cut instead of score. That's kind of important. Or you can take the blade out altogether if you don't trust yourself. I've done that before. So I'm going 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to turn the whole thing around, and I'm going to do the other end at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay, and I'm going to do this on both the top and the bottom layer, both layers. Okay, so you should be able to see I've got 2 score lines here and 2 score lines here. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other end. So we're going to go 1/2, 1, turn it around, and 1/2 and 1. So really the whole thing about diorama, the layers are the important part of diorama cards. That's what gives you that 3D effect. Okay, now I'm going to start. You can fold along your score lines straight away if you want to, but I'm going to introduce you to our bundle first. The bundle I'm using today is called Window Wishes. It takes its name from the stamp set, which is the Window Wishes stamp set. And you've got this lovely big garland here. You can see I've used some of these items on my card. I've used that big garland. Okay, I thought about maybe today using the wreath instead, because you can put a wreath here on the window and that looks really pretty as well. But I might probably stick with the garland today, but that's certainly a different thing that you could do. You've got some really great little images in here. You can see I've got the house here at the back. That's the house stamped here. We've got some little trees. You can see those as well. And you might notice I've got some branches in the background. That's actually from some paper, some DSP or designer series paper that I have, and this is actually a celebration set called Rings of Love. So depending on where you are, this is free with a qualifying order. It's a pack of 12 by 12 sheets, and you know, it's got different designs front and back, but I really love these branches. And you could use other, there's also we also have a Happy Forest paper that also has some cool branches. So that's a nice thing that you can add in the background there, some little branches. Okay, but I'll come back to that. We'll do that in a little bit. In the meantime, let's have a look at the set. I'm going to show you the dies. Now I've actually pulled out a couple of these already. So I've already pulled out the garland one ready to go. This is a frame, and you might notice that the frame, this red glittery frame, I've cut that out with this. Okay, so I've actually done this a little bit ahead of time. I've already gone ahead and cut out the frame, which is kind of nice. And it's all glittery, and that'll make everything look special when we put it all together. But you'll notice that this window here, this one fits inside. So this frame exactly matches the window, so they are meant to go together. This one cuts the window itself, and that's what we're going to use to cut through our card front. This one cuts inside and outside, which is what creates the frame. Okay, so let's have a little look at this. When I want to go ahead and cut this, because this is kind of the important part, I'm going to be cutting, when you only, one thing you do want to do is make sure you've only got one layer of cardstock, not two, okay? You're cutting this, and we're going to have it so that we've got exactly the same amount here between this score line and the edge as we do between this score line and this edge, okay? So that's going to be perfectly centered. Now, when I did this, you might notice here, I've got this up a little bit from the bottom, because once we've cut this window out, the frame is going to go around. So we need to make sure we've got enough room there at the bottom for our greeting. And we do, that's fine. The greeting is quite small actually. But if you're worried about that, you could move it up a little tiny bit further. Okay, so maybe just put the frame on to test, because the frame takes up more room than you might think. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to run that through my cut and emboss machine, and I will be right back in just a moment. Okay, so just let's bring this in. I'm just going to take it off you can see it leaves some little pieces behind, and that's fine. Let's just move that out of the way. Right, so you can see now that it's cut the window, the pieces come out, fall straight out of the front there, and then the window is blank. A little alternative that you can do if you want to is actually add a piece of acetate to this, and then you would have a piece of acetate in the front looking like a glass pane in your window. You could do that as well. I'm not doing that today. I'm going to leave it just as it is. But at this point, this is a good time for us to fold along our score lines. So I'm going to just follow the lines. I'm going to fold this one back and the other one back on itself. So it's like a Z. Okay, can you see that? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Fold one up and the other one the opposite direction. So you've got a mountain fold and a valley fold. And then I also suggest that you use a bone folder and fold these nice and flat, because the flatter you can get them, the better your diorama is going to sit. And of course, now that we've done this to the front, we want to do it to the back as well. So we're not going to cut a window, of course. We're just going to leave it empty, but we're going to pop that up and back on itself. All right, use my bone folder. All right, so this is now going to fit on here. You should be able to see that those two fit together and form almost like a box shape. Okay, now before we put that gluing in place, we're going to be adding this piece here. Now this is because after we started with a 5.5 inch piece, okay, and then we scored 1/2 inch and 1 inch, 1/2 inch and 1 inch, which meant we took 2 inches off this side. So this panel now is 3.5 inches. So this is 3.25 inches, and I've just made it so it's just going to fit inside here. Before I do this though, I want to add some little bits and pieces to it. You might be able to see on my original here that I've actually got like a bit of blue in the sky, and at the bottom we've got a little bit of green. So I'm going to use my blending brushes to add some color to this. So we'll start with the green, and I'm using Soft Succulent for this, which is a good kind of neutral, medium kind of green with a little bit of a blue undertone. So it's a good color to go with these tones. So I'm just going to start at the bottom. I'm going to do circles, and I'm going to take my time and work my way up. Now I don't want to go too far, because it's sort of ending, it's quite subtle, but it's sort of ending where the house is. It's acting like grass or you know, foliage. And don't forget, if you're not sure where your house is going to go, you can actually position this, like put it onto the base just to see how far it's going to go up. And then put this window over the top and think, okay, am we going to see much of that? No, not really. So I'm going to go a little higher. So you're kind of using your window as a guide. And how dark you want to go is up to you completely. I always start with it darker at the bottom and sort of fade it out as I go higher. Okay, now I'm going to do the other end as well. For this, I'm going to use a different color. Now, in the original, I used a navy, or you could use Starry Sky, which is quite similar as well. But this time, I thought I might try Orchid Opulence, which is kind of a medium blue mauve kind of tone. So I'm going to come in with that and let's see how that looks. If it's not blue enough, oh, I think it will be. It really does have a strong blue undertone. Starting at the top again, working our way down. And you don't meet up in the middle. We're actually going to kind of have a little bit of light in between the two, which kind of looks good. I think it looks like an evening sky. Let's see how that's looking. All right, so let's see if this was going to be placed over that. You can kind of see a little bit of the blue, but not too much. I think that's looking pretty good actually. I'm kind of happy with that. All right, let's pop this aside because I'm going to do my house in this color in a little moment. All right, so now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to grab myself some adhesive. I'm using Seal Adhesive today, but you can use whatever adhesive you like. Tombow Multipurpose also works really well. And we're just going to pop that on there. And we're going to grab this and we're going to line it up so it fits on the bottom. Just a little bit up from the bottom, and it's inside those score lines, so it's even with an even border all the way around, looking like this. Okay, and you're sort of starting to get a feel for how it comes together now. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I have got a little bit of white paper here. And I'm going to stamp my house, and I'll use my orchid again for that. So let's open that up. We'll stamp our house, which is you can see what I mean, it's a bluey purple, this color, so it's really, really lovely. And I'm going to use Real Red for my roof. You could use Cherry Cobbler too, it doesn't really matter which red you use, but I do like a good red roof. As you can see, I've used it for red roofs before. Never completely get the red out of it. Right, so let's pop that here. So we've already got our trees cut out. The trees are, I've cut those out with the dies. You can stamp them as well, but I thought they were kind of cute. I've just done them in Evening Evergreen, which is a matching green. All right, so let's get our dies out. Here's the roof. And the house. And then I'll just quickly run those through the machine and I'll be right back. Okay, here's our little house. Here's the little roof that's going to go on. Isn't that cute? I love little houses. I don't know what it is about little houses. They just make me happy. Okay, so now we have the fun bit. We have to work out where these are going to go. Now you can, if you want to, put the roof on, like put the front on the card and then put them in through the hole. That's one possibility. And it does make it easier sometimes to see exactly how far down you want to have them. But let me have a look. but I kind of like to add them beforehand, just giving an idea. Now I'm actually going to have to bring my head into this in a second, which I apologize for in advance, just to give me an idea. That's very close to where I want it to be. All right, so let me hold the house down, and the trees are going to kind of go off to one side there. Okay, yeah, I think that's the right place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the roof where I want it, and I'm going to grab my house, and I'm just going to add a little, you could add glue dots, a bit of seal, a bit of Tombow, whatever you would like, and that roof's going to guide me as to where the house needs to go. And I'm not pushing it down too hard in case I decide I want to reposition it. Now, you can put this down flat. I actually chose to put this on dimensionals in there. I'm not sure which one I will go with. Maybe we'll try the dimensionals again. I'm just going to use one mini dimensional and we'll see how that goes. And just pop it there on the house. That's kind of cute, isn't it? All right, and we know that the trees are going to go right behind that. Now I'm going to add a mini glue dot, sorry, a mini dimensional, I should say. Beg your pardon. I'm going to add those next to the house, so they look like they're a bit further forward. And I'm going to just pop this little single tree on at the back. Just like that. Now this is going to go on the front here. So you can sort of see, it looks, straight away, it looks kind of cute, right? I'm happy with that. Now, I'm just going to flatten this down for a second. You can use seal, you can use Tombow, you can use tape. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd be going with seal or tape because it is easier to get it in nice straight rows down here. And we want to apply it to this little flap, the one that's going to be sitting at the outside of edge. And I'm going to just make sure it's running properly. I'm going to go all the way down this side, and I am going to match up this flap with this flap. So let's do it so you can see. If you put the score lines together, and I'm just going to push it all the way along. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put those two score lines together. So that the corners meet up. And do the same thing at the other end, and then push it all the way along. And now we have the dioramas coming together. Okay, now we need to do a little bit of decorating. This does fold flat. I probably should have stamped it really before I put it together, but it does fold flat for you to stamp it, so it's not the end of the world if you forget to do it earlier like I just did, but that's okay. I'm going to use this one that says "For lots of joy at Christmas," and pop it on a block. Okay. And I think I'm just going to use my matching Evening Evergreen again. Just going to flatten that down. Oh, actually, before we do that, probably a good idea to position your frame on at this point because, goodness me, forget my head if it wasn't screwed on. That's okay. You can use seal, you can use Tombow, whatever you like to attach this. Tombow is a good one probably because you can put it all the way around, zip around the whole thing. But I'm just using seal because that's what's close to hand. And I'm just going to position this so you've got the same amount of white all the way around, and then just push it down when you're happy with it, like that. Okay, now it looks good. And we're just going, now we can know exactly how much space we have down the bottom to work with for our greeting. And I'm just going to make sure my block is relatively clean because I don't want to put green ink everywhere, just where I want it. There we go, just like that. All right, it's coming together now. So we also have in the stamp set this beautiful garland that goes over, and you stamp it. And I have actually already stamped it ahead of time just to save a little bit of time. I stamped it with soft succulent, and I have cut it out with the matching die, and it's ready to go. So it's going to go straight over the top, and look how nice this looks almost immediately. Okay, it's going to go straight over the top of my window here, and I did choose to put this on dimensionals because I think that's a really nice way to go. So mini ones are probably your best bet here, although there is a couple of spaces that are big enough to have bigger ones, but I think the minis are quite good for attaching this. I'm nearly finished this piece of this pack of dimensionals. I've only got a few left on this one. I need to grab a new sheet. Almost there. All right, so then you whip the backs off those. Here we go. There we go, just the last one. Take the back off it, and then we're going to position it just above the frame. That way you can still see a bit of the frame, but you also get that beautiful garland coming down over the top. All right, now also in this beautiful set of dies, you'll notice we have a little bow. The other thing I mentioned earlier is we also have this great wreath, and it cuts out the stamped wreath that's in the set, which is right here. You can see it right here, and that you could put that right here in front of the window if you wanted to, which also looks really lovely. And it's got, you can use the bow with the wreath as well, which is really nice. But I'm just going to use it here, and I'm actually going to use it with a glue dot. So I'm going to pop that right there in the center of my bow, give it a push, and then attach it right there in the top. Now you can leave it just like that. You might notice that my original has some berries. Okay, now there's two ways that I suggest you can do the berries. We have a fantastic set of bling that's just come out in the new catalog, and it's called the Festive Pearls, and these are beautiful. You can see I have some right here, and we've got cherry cobbler, soft succulent, silver and gold. Okay, really, really useful, and you can just take these off and pop them straight on here, and they look terrific. And it looks a bit like that's what I've used, right? However, it's not actually what I used. I did something a little different this time. I used the pearlized enamel effects. Okay, now these are really fun. They look just like pearl embellishments that you might have added, but instead they're a liquid, and they just pop out. You can see you just add them exactly like a pearl. Now, the one thing you do need to remember with this is that they do take a little while to dry. I would think little dots like this are probably you're probably going to want to wait about 30 minutes to give them a bit of drying time. So with that in mind, if you are using these, don't leave them on your desk where you're going to pop other things on top of them. Ask me how I know that. So my suggestion is you find a little spot that's out of the way, a windowsill or somewhere that you don't access all the time, and is less likely to have things popped on top of it, because you want these dots to get plenty of air drying time for that first 30 minutes or more. So That's just my little bit of advice, but whoop, that one went. You can if you have one that's a little bit blobby, you can move it with the nozzle and make it a little bit more. A couple of those are bigger on this side, so I'm going to add a couple of bigger ones on this side too to try and balance it up. There we go. Look how nice that is. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's another little thing that these are new out. They come in a pack of 3. They come in white, black and red. And I've been using the red ones to make fabulous berries for my projects. So I'm going to put this out of the way where I can't touch it, and it's going to be fine. I'll look at it in the morning probably because it's getting a little bit late now. But this is how it will turn out with those little berries, and you can see they're perfectly easy to be handled after you've left them for a little while. Okay, so I hope that was fun. This is my layered project this month. I've managed to get ink all over myself, but hey, that's just an occupational hazard for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please check the next video in our hop, and you'll find that in the description below. So click the more button underneath this video and you'll see the next video to watch. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.